In this series, How to Shape a Surfboard, we're going to go over the whole process from start to finish, from figuring out what kind of board you want to getting a blank, making a template, rails, rocker, concave, fine sanding, all that kind of stuff. So stick around, we're going to see what happens.
Access granted.
If you've ever ordered a custom surfboard without the intent of picking it up and paying for it, hit that like and subscribe button. My name is Zack Flores. I've been shaping since I was 10 years old, which is 10 to 22, 12 years. And I learned everything under Jim Phillips, who's a definitely renowned shaper. He grew up Hawaii, East Coast. And he's an amazing woodworker, amazing craftsman, and he's taught me everything that I know. The reason I'm making this series for all of you is because I've looked over YouTube and all of the shaping videos seem to be very terrible, and they're taught by mostly people that don't know how to shape. So that's why I'm here. So the first thing you're going to want to figure out is what kind of surfboard you're going to shape yourself. Are you going to shape yourself a small board, a big board, a long board, a twin fin, a wakeboard? And that's going to dictate what you're going to do next. Once you figure out what type of surfboard you're going to make yourself, then you're going to go and figure out what kind of blank you're going to get for yourself. I generally use US blanks, and for this video I'm going to be making a new little fish for myself. And I already know that a 6.0R is going to fit that perfectly, so that's what we're going to be using. So depending on where you live, you're going to have different options for blanks. If you're in Australia, if you're in Mexico, if you're here in California, you're going to have a lot of different options. I personally use US blanks due to the consistency of them and the fact that I've used them my whole life, and so I'm just comfortable with them. You might not be able to get US blanks where you are. If you're in Mexico, it might be a lot easier for you to get a crate full of Arctic foam, or if you are in Australia, you might be getting whatever you guys get in Australia. So just go on their websites. They usually will have a full catalog that you can choose exactly what kind of blank you're going to need, and there's different densities of blanks, and so for really small boards, you're going to want a lighter density. For bigger boards, you're going to want a heavier density, so just take that into consideration when you're choosing your blank. The next thing you're going to want to consider is where you're going to be shaping. Obviously, I have my own shaping room, which makes it easy for me. And I built this shaping room. It took us like 500 years, but we got it done, and it's a great place for me to shape. I'm assuming if you're watching this video, you probably don't have your own shaping room though. So if you're going to do a garage setup, an outdoor setup, a tent setup, a shed setup, if you're going to go rent a room for somebody for the day, your options are going to be a lot different. So you're going to need different tools, you're going to need different setup, you're going to need lighting, all that sort of stuff. So let's cover that. So one very important thing you're going to need is a set of racks. I had a guy up in Oceanside make these for me. And he didn't do a very good job, but fortunately my grandpa and I were able to weld some stuff onto there to reinforce them. And they've been great. After we did that, they've worked just fine. So you're going to need racks. That's an important thing. Sawhorses don't really work. They get in your way. You can make them out of 2x4s. You can, if you know how to weld, you can weld yourself up a pair. But you're going to need racks. So one good thing for lighting, if you're shaping at home or in a shed or whatever your setup is you can get the LED strip lights. They're pretty cheap. They're like $35 for a 16-foot roll. This is what I've used the whole time that I've shaped here. They've worked great. I haven't lost any of the little bulbs. And they're super easy to put up. They have an adhesive on the back, so you can just roll it out, stick it on there, and you're ready to go. I'll put a link in the description for where I got these. So a quick tip for setting up your racks and lighting. A good rule of thumb general is going to be if you just drop your arm out, put it at a 90-degree angle, you're going to want your board to be about right there. I have mine a little bit lower. I've just gotten used to it. And same thing for the lighting. You want to set the lighting up so it casts a shadow across the top of the board, and so you can actually see what you're doing when you're shaping. The reason why you want that there is so when you have your planer and you're shaping, it's right here. Very easy. You're not shaping like this, and you're not shaping like this, breaking your back. So if you found a place to rent a room, you're probably not going to need to buy any tools. They'll probably provide that for you there. But if you're building out your own little shaping room, the first tool you're going to need is going to be a planer with a quick adjust. Now, US Blanks actually sells these pre-modified, but if you do get one at Home Depot, you're not going to be able to adjust this on the fly. It's like you have to spin it like 3 rotations to get a full depth cut. So that's really annoying, and it doesn't really work for shaping surfboards. People in Australia do it that way. I don't know why or how, but they do. Next thing you're going to want is ear protection, because this thing is super duper loud. And you kind of go deaf a little bit if you use it without earplugs. I just use these crappy earmuffs. They work fine. The next thing you're going to probably want is a mask. I generally use a respirator. This one has the dust filters on there. If I don't have that, or if it's really dirty, I'll just use one of the paper masks. So the other little tools you're going to need are block planes. I actually got this one from Japan. This one's really nice. This one's just a whatever crap Stanley one. They work. These are okay. They're not the best. If you're going to be shaping a lot of surfboards, you're going to want to find some specialty ones. I got this one also in Japan, and I actually shaped some rocker, or whatever you would call it, into there so that I can get down into the nose rocker on the deck of shortboards, which is really great. So you're going to need one of these. You can just get a cheap one if you're just starting. You don't need anything expensive, and it's going to work just fine. The next thing you're going to need is going to be sanding blocks. You can make them out of pretty much anything. People like to use balsa wood. I've just used random foam chunks that I find, and I generally glue my this one sucks. I generally glue my sandpaper on with 3M spray adhesive, and that's another good thing to have is 3M spray adhesive. And they work good. You get used to them. They'll scratch your boards up when you first start using them, but over time they break in and you get better at using them. This is a finishing block. I have it on it's like insulation for whatever, padding stuff, and it works great. You can hold on to it. I have a 320 and a 400 finish block. It's always good to get screen. Got fancy Japanese screen, 600 grit. You're probably not going to find this stuff here. If you do, buy it. The best screen is going to have really close or really small gaps in between the screen, unlike this stuff that you can generally get in America, where it has way larger gaps in between. So this stuff will scratch up your board a little bit more. This stuff is better. Shear forms, that's another thing you're going to want, especially when you're starting out. I just use the coarse little guy right here, and I use this for after I plane out my board. If I'm trying to get everything really flat for like a concave deck or whatever, just trying to make stuff really symmetrical, I'll use these and just walk across the whole thing, get all the little divots and scratches out that might be in there. And as a beginning shaper, these are very useful because they cut in very even amount, because it's called a planer. They create planes, and they're really easy to use. I generally use a coarse one. I have this round one that I use for swallowtails and other little stuff that's kind of hard to get to areas. And then I also have this tiny little guy for finishing off swallowtails or channels, weird stuff like that. So these are great tools to have. So a shaper square is a super great tool to have. Makes it really easy to figure out width on your board, so you're not using a square like this and trying to cut all your measurements in half, then you're probably not going to be directly on the stringer. So it's good to have a shaper square. I don't think they're too expensive. And then it also makes it really easy to find your tail width. Say you're looking at your tail width, oh, I want a 13-inch tail. There you go. Super easy. So this is a great thing to have. As you can see, mine is absolutely destroyed. Jim gave this to me, and I guess it's just a little bit sentimental, so I keep it. Tape measure. It's a good thing to have. You probably already have one, so have a tape measure. So these things, they make it nice if you're trying to figure out how thick your board is. Oh, 2.5. Very handy. So these things I think are kind of expensive. You don't really need them, but they're nice to have. I use them pretty much every time I shape a board. So you're gonna need a saw. I just bought the cheapest one Home Depot had, and I actually took a angle grinder and cut out all this part here. I think it's about 2 inches from here to here. And having it cut out like this makes it really easy to go around tight curves, because you can cut in a tighter angle when you only have 2 inches instead of 3.5 inches or 4 inches. Some people keep them all big and thick, and they just like bend them like crazy to get around the curves. This is easier in my opinion, so I do that. Don't forget a pencil. They come in handy. And a tip, you don't want it too sharp, you don't want it too dull. If it's too sharp, it's probably not going to leave any of the lead on your board, and if it's too dull, then it's not going to leave any lead also. So you just want it to be right in the middle, and so it'll actually leave a line for you. Last but not least, if you're not using a vacuum system, like I don't use it, a lot of people don't use it, in my opinion, they're just kind of annoying. You're gonna want a compressor or something that you can blow yourself off with, a leaf blower, an electric leaf blower, something, because you will be covered head to toe in foam dust, and it's really annoying to get off unless you jump into the ocean, a pool, or take a shower immediately after. Pretty much everything I'll have a link for in the description so that you guys can pick that up, ship it to your house, Amazon it, make it easy. So that's it for this video. In the next video, we're going to be covering templates, making a template for your surfboard. And yeah, hit the notification bell so you'll know that I put out a new video. And hopefully this will help you guys. Let me know if I missed anything. And let me know what kind of board you'd want to see shaped. I'm already planning on doing a small board, but if you guys comment enough, you might be able to change my mind. Aloha. He's so tiny. Did his face. Actually, he still might be in danger.